Pictures up, quiet please.
Parker? What's on your mind?
I've thought about this all night. Whether what I'm about to do is the right thing or not.
Let me go in and talk to him alone, Dr. Mallory.
I did so only because he was working along lines contrary to the good of mankind.
Well, Rangers, looks as though Agents Mackenzie and Hopkins are going to have to get to that hacienda and get there mighty fast.
You crush all opposition. Make me the most powerful man in the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Good Movie Hunting, the podcast where we discuss the best, worst, and our favorite films and the actors that we love. And today we're switching it up a little bit. We've got a surprise guest, a friend that is near and dear to me, that we've been friends so long. So many years. I can't even give away.
So many years.
I can't even give away the years because it'll give away our ages.
Are we worried about that yet?
I
don't know.
I'm a little worried about it personally. But yes, this is Savannah. Savannah, say hello to everyone.
Hi guys, how's it going? Like you can answer. Love that.
I know, it's great just talking into the open space in front of us and expecting an answer.
Exactly.
All right. Usually at the beginnings we drop our socials, for those people that don't love us enough to listen to the end yet. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. We have a Facebook page at Good Movie Hunting or at GMH Podcast, Twitter at GMH Pod, Instagram at GMH Podcast. Our email is goodmoviehuntingpod@gmail.com. Our YouTube is Good Movie Hunting Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for your feedback, support, and yada, yada, yada. Let's get on with the show. Savannah, who are we talking about today?
We are just talking about the Danish man that has me just engrossed in every film he's in. Like, it doesn't even matter what it is. I just tend to watch it regardless of how garbage it is. Mads Mikkelsen,
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah, he's got everyone in
love
his
him. Honestly, he's just the best, dude.
I think it's like one of those things that, if people don't want to, be him, they want to fuck him. Or sometimes it's both, So it's I was talking to Danny and he was like, I really don't get it. Like, why do you and Savannah think he's so hot? Why do you think he's a daddy? And I was like, you just...
Okay, but listen. He gives off very protector vibes. Like, you just know he's going to be a gentleman that is going to go off to, Viking Valhalla to protect his family. Okay?
I love that. That is definitely 100% true. When I look at him,
I'm just... vibes. You just look at him and you're just like, oh, he's going to protect me.
Yes, we are talking about, like Savannah said, we're talking about Mads. His middle name is Dittman, which I'm probably not even saying that right, but Mads.
I mean, that's the best that you could do, honestly, because, I have no idea.
Honestly, there are so many instances in my notes where I, came across a Danish word, and I was like, I'm going to pretend I didn't see that because I don't want to have to pronounce it to the masses.
Oh, yes.
I just was like, there's one part where they give the name of a school that he went to and stuff, and I was like, I'm just going to say what kind of school it was. I'm not going to...
I know. It's hard to, pronounce anything, dude.
Yeah, I mean, if it's, Spanish or something, then, or, even Italian, I can kind of wing it because I'm a little familiar, but Danish? No. Growing up where we grew up, we didn't really get too much diversity, especially from other countries and stuff like that. So, I mean, we have no familiarity with that. I feel like if we lived in New York or something, it'd be different. We'd actually see people.
Also, if we would have grown up in more of an urban setting, we were in a very, very middle of nowhere, just exit off the freeway type of a town.
Exactly.
You drive through, you miss it, and that you're fine. You haven't lost any.
All right. So Mads Dittman Mikkelsen. I'm pretty sure I saw on the Wikipedia page that he was more of a G sound for the K's. like Mikkelsen.
Oh, like Mikkelsen?
Yeah, and I was like,
I'm sure he says it way better than we do. I would just like to hear him saying his own name. And I don't know why. I don't have any reason for it. Other than I think it would be very interesting to watch.
I don't think he's even bothered to have to say his own name.
He does give off that vibe, definitely. I appreciate that.
It's
But
a great
that's kind of
energy to have.
I believe that's like a kind of a Scandinavian mindset. Like that might just be like his cultural upbringing.
Yes.
Because I know in like Europe, they're like, oh, why would I do that? That's not going to make me happy. That's not going to bring joy to my life. That's not going to bring anything. Whereas like in America, I feel like we have that very like, we just need to get this done to get it done so we can say we've done it.
Yeah. Definitely.
So like maybe there's a cultural aspect as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, he was born on November 22nd, 1965, which makes him 56, which surprised me, honestly. I don't know if it's because of the salt and pepper thing he's got going on, but he looks a little older than that to me.
I mean, he's definitely aged like a fine wine. I'm not gonna lie. Because I've seen like earlier films of his and like earlier works where I've been like, oh, this is weird. Like, I don't know if I specifically enjoy this. Because I'm just so used to seeing him, like his more recent works and everything.
He's also a Sagittarius, so that's cool that I have something in common with him.
Yes!
As far as I know, Sagittarius signs are supposed to be more like down-to-earth people, which I definitely see that in him. He was born in Copenhagen, Denmark, to mother Bente Christensen and father Henning Mikkelsen, however you want to say it.
You're doing so good.
Thanks. As it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, no, I don't like that. He has one brother named Lars Mikkelsen, who is also an actor, apparently. I saw like some of the stuff he was in, but he didn't look familiar, but the movies that he has been in.
Are you kidding?
What?
You don't know who Lars Mikkelsen is? Like, he was in that Sherlock series that has Benedict Cumberbatch in it.
See, that's what I did read that, and I was like, well, I've seen that show, but maybe it was just a picture that I saw of him, but he didn't look...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and apparently...
I saw a picture of him, and I immediately was like, oh, Sherlock, because I loved that show. It was just so
also
good.
You watch more TV than I do, so, I mean, a lot of things that I have seen, like, as far as, like, things that I wasn't allowed to watch at home or whatever, either you introduced me to them or I watched them with you, like a lot of things. So in a lot of ways,
I'm not gonna say I was the best thing that ever happened to you, but maybe
in that way you were. So growing up, he enjoyed being a gymnast, and he wanted to kind of go into a more athletic career. That's what he envisioned for himself. But he actually ended up studying dance at a ballet academy instead. And at this academy is actually where he met his wife. Her name is Hun Jacobsen. They started dating in 1987 and they got married in 2000. So they were together for 13 years before they got married, which was like crazy to me. I feel like you don't see that very often. During his time at the ballet academy, he decided to start studying drama at the Aarhus Theater School in 1996. And at that time, I guess he started to realize that was calling to him more than his life of dance. And so he decided to leave the ballet academy and pursue an acting career. And he's been pretty much at it like consistently since 1996. And what's crazy to me is that I feel like when we have talked about American actors and actresses, when you see them start out in film and stuff like that, usually they get scraps at the beginning. You know, like they might be in a commercial or in a small TV part, you know, in the beginning to get them started. Mm-hmm. But with him, his first thing that he ever did was in, so apparently there's a Danish series of movies called the Pusher films. And I want to say it's a trilogy. I think it's 3 parts. But he was in that first movie in 1996, and it was extremely successful. And apparently his part in it And he wasn't even in like a small part either. I think he was maybe not the main character, but he was like the secondary main character. Like he was a big part in it, and apparently he just blew up from that. Like he was so good at that part that everyone just fell in love with him immediately. Because I saw pictures from the film and stuff, and he's got like his head is shaved but like down to the skin, and it's crazy to see him like that, because I feel like everything that I've seen, all the like American movies I've seen him in, he's always got like really nice longer hair, and so it was really weird for me to see him with no hair like that.
It was weird to see him go full Lex Luthor on there.
I did not like it. I was not a fan of that. And so he mainly is a star in, over in Denmark, but his first English film wasn't even that far off from his start. His first English film was in the movie King Arthur, which came out in 2004, which I had completely forgotten about that movie, actually, until I was looking through his like IMDb page, and I saw that, and I was like, holy shit, I used to love that movie as a kid.
I remember you liking that movie. I specifically remember you being like, let's watch this, and I was like, what?
No way, seriously?
I remember being like, no, we're not going, let's go watch Fast and Furious, okay? Like, we're not watching this.
You're like, please, I'll take Vin Diesel over these cucks any day. And he's like, he's barely in it. It's mainly this, I don't even know who the guy is. He's like extremely unremarkable. I'm not going to remember anything about him. Yeah, his name is Clive, which, first of all,
oh no, poor guy. Poor Clive.
Yeah, so moving on, he was in that, I know we talked about this like personally off the show, but he was in the American TV show Hannibal from 2013 to 2015, and he actually was a little bit apprehensive to play the part of Hannibal in that show. He said that he felt that Anthony Hopkins' role in Hannibal was just perfect. He was a little nervous that he wouldn't be able to even come close, which I understand his, worry.
I can understand that being intimidating.
Yeah, but I mean, he nailed it. That show was really good. He was so good as Hannibal. I felt like he did a perfect job. But yeah, he said, and I'll quote him here, but he said this of his character: he's not a classic psychopath or a classic serial killer. I believe that he's as close to Satan as can be, the fallen angel. He sees the beauty in death, and every day is a new day full of opportunities. And I was like, oh, like, I liked his take on that. I was like, that's pretty interesting, because I do feel that, especially in the show. He has 2 children, a boy named Carl, who was born in 1997, and a girl named Viola, who was born in 1992. He's always lived in Copenhagen, except for when he was filming Hannibal, at which point he stayed in Toronto. But outside of that, he does have a vacation home in the Spanish island of, I think it's pronounced Majorca. It's Mallorca.
No idea.
And this is no surprise to you or I, but he has been voted sexiest man in Denmark several times.
Well, obviously, he's an icon.
I loved how when I read that too, it was like, they didn't even say how many times. They were just like, it's been many times, like so many times. It's not even quantifiable at this point. It just, everyone thinks he's sexy.
They're like, don't worry, we got you.
We know.
We know.
We know, he knows, and now the rest of the world needs to know. And yeah, that's pretty much his about, but I'll move on to the fun facts about him. Fun fact number 1, he can speak 5 different languages: Danish, Swedish, English, German, and French.
Do you think it's like once you pick up one language, like you have one language, right? You speak that your whole life. Once you pick up another one, do you think it's like easier to like just pick up? Because I feel like people use like they either speak one language or they speak like 5.
I know,
okay?
right?
I cannot English even, okay? So I just don't understand.
I know, like I'm very jealous. I would love to. I think
I
other
would
languages
love
are
that.
so fascinating, especially like, and you and I have discussed this before, but like the horizons that opens up for you as far as like TV and film and stuff. There are so many incredible movies that aren't in English, and people are just afraid to watch them because they're like, oh, subtitles, it's so terrible. But once I started experiencing that, I was like, holy shit, like some countries are even doing better at film than we are.
Oh my gosh, so many other countries are like doing amazing things with film. Like, I know, like, I'm super into just different animes and watching them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the one that, like, the gateway anime that got me into all the animes was, like, Attack on Titan.
That's a
And
good one to start with, too.
I loved that one. And I just feel like ever since then, it's, like, opened up, like, I don't just have to watch, like, the latest Marvel
Yeah,
money
right.
grab movie. You know what I mean? There are other things, and
yeah, I don't have to watch the 20th Fast and Furious movie. I can watch something else.
okay, we haven't gone that far. Those ones still have me by the throat.
I know, I'm firing shots because I know how much you love Fast and Furious. I never understood it, but you love
it.
it.
Such a fun experience, it's just so fun.
I feel like in order to, and you've tried to make me sit down and watch all of them, that I feel like you would have to.
I remember
like,
those days. Like,
you would
I
have to
sit you down.
ply me with alcohol in order for me to like even remotely enjoy those movies. Yeah, he has been known to love Bruce Lee, and he loves graphic novels, which I thought was cool. I wouldn't have guessed that about him, actually. He likes to cook Asian cuisine, and funny enough, this is interesting to me when I hear this about actors and actresses, but he apparently doesn't watch much TV. He's not really like a huge fan, but he did say that his son got him to watch The Walking Dead with him, and he said he really liked it, that he was like obsessed. He got sucked into it.
Oh, he would have been so good in that show too.
Oh, right? He would have been very good.
Like, you think if he were to just be like, you know what, I'm just going to freaking go for it. I'm going to call, like, my contacts and get in this show because, like, that would be freaking awesome.
Oh, and they would have taken him, too, with open arms, I think. One thing that I did read about him whenever, because he's in the James Bond movies, he plays a villain in it. One interesting thing that he said is that, like, when he went to audition for that part, that he said they basically, like, he showed up and he kind of like started to do like the required stuff, and they were just like, we'll take you. Like, he was like, I showed up prepared to like show my worth and show what a great actor I am, and he was like, I was barely into the audition, and they were like, you know what, come on, let's go, like, we know you got it.
Like, we believe in you, bro.
And apparently they had been doing their research too, like they checked up on him, and they were like, yeah.
Good for them.
And speaking of auditions too, he auditioned for Mr. Fantastic and the Fantastic Four movie that came out in 2005. And he said that he actually ended up walking out of the audition because he was that bad. He said that he felt frustrated because they kept asking him to do ridiculous things, and he was like, no, this is not worth my time. Like, do you know who I am? Look at
what
me.
do you think they were trying to get him to do, though?
One thing I read said that they were like, they like told him to hold out his arms in front of him like they were rubber. Which, I mean, he is auditioning for Mr. Fantastic, but I just picture him like standing there with like jello arms, like shaking his arms about, and then in his head he's like, this is not fucking worth it.
That also, I don't think that movie was very good, so I'm glad he wasn't in it.
I know, right?
But
like,
I do think he would have made it better.
Yeah, he would have made it better, but at what consequence to him? Like, I feel like that would be like a stain on his record forever. He'd be like, oh god, that fucking movie.
He'd be like, oh my gosh, nobody bring it up. Nobody bring it up.
My last fun fact that I'll leave off on is that as far as alcohol goes, he says he prefers beer. He said he doesn't like cocktails or anything like that, that it smells like perfume to him, and it kind of makes him nauseous. So he said he just likes a good beer, and he's a fan of motorcycles.
Yeah, I get that vibe.
Yeah,
I get that vibe.
and that just makes me even more attracted to him. Like
Honestly,
he's
like,
a beer
can you pick?
man, and he can ride a motorcycle.
I can totally picture him just like pulling up on like a really super nice vintage Harley Davidson in his little leather jacket, not wearing a helmet. Obviously, he's too badass for that.
Ugh, helmets.
And then like the biker boots. Like, I can see it. I can picture it now.
Oh yeah, all day. But yeah, that is the about for Mr. Mads. And I guess we'll move on to, and this is like a relaxed fit episode, so I know usually we kind of go heavy on the movies and a little lighter on the about, but this time we're just going to kind of chill and relax and talk.
Just real quick. So I couldn't watch the movie, but I went and looked up because I think it was like in 2020 he got an award for this movie. And so I was like, oh, that's super interesting. Let me like look up, like research what the movie was about.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, I feel like actors to a certain degree have a choice in like which films that they take on and which ones they don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And this was like a Danish film, and so I read the like plot synopsis of it, just trying to kind of get a feel for what this movie was, and it was called Druk, or D-R-U-K. So it's completely Danish, and I'm probably saying it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, he and like 3 of his friends, so Mads Mikkelsen, who's obviously acting in this film, obviously, but we're going to say he made this decision. So he and his friends in this film are like, we are going to follow the advice of this, I think they said it was just some type of like theologist or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
where they consume alcohol on like a daily basis to see how it affects their social and professional lives.
Okay.
So their goal is to have, I think they said like a blood alcohol level of like a certain percent, and just to like see how their life goes, right?
Oh God.
And they're school teachers. They're literal like high school teachers, and they all like hate their lives that they're living. Like, one of them's in like a poor marriage, another one's just like not happy with like how his life's come about and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think in the United States it's called Another Round.
Yes, yeah, I was just looking it up, and whenever I typed it in on Google, it like translated it for me. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it automatically translates. But so
but yeah,
in this film,
I see like
their lives like start getting better, and they're like, what?
Oh my God.
So then they just keep doing it, right? So they are trying to essentially attain a goal of like 0.05% blood alcohol concentration, like at all times. But it was just bizarre to me that like this theologist person thinks that like everybody's deficient by 0.05%, and it'll make you more creative and more relaxed if you're just like a little drunk. I just thought it was super interesting. Just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, and it says it's on Hulu too, so that I might look into.
We love a good Hulu moment.
Oh yes, yes. But I hate whenever I do that thing where I look up where to watch something, and it says, "Oh, Hulu," and then I go get on Hulu, and it says, "Oh, only with our live TV subscription or our Stars subscription or something." I'm like, bro, don't even tease me like that. That is so rude. Like, I don't need more fees on top of my fees.
Like, in this economy? No.
In this economy. in this economic climate. No.
In this economic situation?
I went to just get a gallon of milk. Have I been paying that much for milk and I haven't even realized it? I don't know.
Price of milk goes like up and down, like depending on them cows.
Yeah. Depending on them cows, man.
Well, okay, remember how for a while you like couldn't find any like eggs anywhere?
No.
Do you remember that?
There was
It was
an
like
egg
around-
shortage? Where was
There was
I?
an egg shortage. Okay, listen. it was like Easter time too. And I remember
Oh,
being like,
God.
why
All the
is-
Christians were in a fit, I'm sure.
okay, so I thought they were just price gouging for Easter, and I was like, okay, you got to get that coin where you can. I understand that, chicken people. But I went to the store, like, this was like 2 weeks after Easter, and it was like, I like to go up in the Sam's Club, and I like to get me that huge thing of eggs, because we eat a lot of eggs in our house. And that,
You talk about the
like-
chicken people. We're the egg people over here.
we are the egg people. But it was like $8 for these 2 packs of 12, and I was like, excuse me?
Jeez.
What the heck? And then I looked it up because I was like, there's got to be a greater
There was
conspiracy
something
happening.
afoot
Like,
here. How
like, do we need to
disrespectful
blame
the
a
egg
political
people?
official for this? Who are we blaming? Their heads will roll. Like, I don't understand.
I need my eggs. Let me just have my
Anyway,
eggs.
it was because all these chickens got this chicken disease.
What?
They got like the bird flu or some shit.
That sounds made up. But
And then
okay.
they had to like light them up. They had to like kill all the birds. So then they put them in there and they just like slowly roasted them. And they died. It was all these like chickens that lay eggs or whatever. But
Oh my God.
I was like, can you think of a less humane way to just kill them chickens? They were just happily producing eggs. And I guess they don't want people having that disease or whatever.
I swear to God, that was definitely a fever dream of yours. I don't think it really happened.
It was not. Eggs were so expensive.
Oh my God. First movie that we're going to talk about that Savannah chose is Clash of the Titans, which came out in 2010. And believe it or not, it got a 27% by critics and only a
I believe
40% by audience.
Okay, so this was one of the first films that I ever laid my young child eyes on Mads Mikkelsen, and glorious man that he is. It came out at a time, I think it came out like right after the movie Avatar. Remember the super long one with the blue people?
Mm.
You know that one?
Mhm.
Where they're like shaking and they're doing their little dance.
Yes, I remember.
Sam Worthington was some hot shit at that time. So I think he just got like the lead role over my man Mads. Like, I really think Mads should have been the main character, but that's beside the point.
The feelings I have about Sam Worthington, I don't like him. I just like, he's got one of those faces. I look at him and I'm like, you look like such a dick.
Okay, you know how they say that like Edward Pattinson looks like a shovel face?
Wait, did you just say Edward Pattinson?
Oh, sorry, Robert Pattinson. That's what I've been calling him for years.
I love it. That's
Sorry.
great.
Okay, so you know how they say that Robert Pattinson looks like a shovel face? I think Sam Worthington really takes the cake on that. Like, he looks more like a shovel than anybody I've ever seen in my life.
A shovel. I have never heard that before, but I love it.
You've
and
never
it's-
heard that Robert Pattinson looks like a shovel face?
No, but it's in my vocabulary now.
Okay, so we start out this film, right? Where they're like talking about the gods. So there's like Zeus and Hades. Okay, up until I was researching for this film, I am kind of embarrassed to say that I thought that Zeus and Hades were the same person.
Bro,
I
get
thought,
the
like,
fuck
that-
out of here. You're kidding.
I literally, however old I was when this film came out, I legitimately thought that Hades was Liam Neeson, just like done up different.
I wish you could see the look of shock in my eyeballs right now.
I'm so
because-
sorry.
You don't even have an excuse because, I mean,
I-
Harry Potter,
I
like,
know.
he was Voldemort. I mean, Hades was Voldemort. You could hear it in his voice. It is so obvious.
Okay, but like, listen,
No.
you know when you just
No.
like see somebody and you're just like, okay, bad guy. You know?
You're like, I don't even care who he is. He's just bad.
He's just not hot shit. Okay.
He's
So I
not
literally
mad.
thought that he was. I thought he was Liam Neeson, but like done up different.
Oh my god.
Until I like rewatched this movie and I was like, dude, they're not the same.
You are insane.
Anyways, so it starts off or whatever. They're doing their typical like recap of Greek history. We love that. So Zeus like bangs the queen Danae, and her husband was King Acrisius, something like that. Anyways, so Zeus, as like punishment to the king for trying to like lay siege to Mount Olympus, I think. He's like, I'm gonna transform into you, and then I'm gonna bang your wife. What up?
Yeah.
Then his wife gets impregnated. Okay, impregnated.
It's done. I know we just had sex moments ago, but she is already pregnant, dude.
So in retaliation to Zeus banging his wife and his wife being pregnant, he like lets his wife have this full-term baby. Then he kills her and puts this live baby in a coffin with her and chucks it into the sea.
Bro,
Bye-bye.
I didn't even really think about it, but now that you say it, it is absolutely wild that he's like, no, I'm going to wait 9 months because,
Like, what was he doing? Investigating? Like,
no, like, he's like, okay, I'm going to wait and see if this baby comes out with, like, thunderbolt-shaped eyebrows or something, and then that's
Like-
going to tell me if this baby is mine or Zeus's.
he's definitely gonna have one of them Harry Potter scars, lightning bolts somewhere on his body. And then the like casket, I guess you could call it, which is a really nice casket for a queen who betrayed you and slept with your enemy. Okay.
I know, right? He's like, I hate you so much, I'm going to put you in an absolutely gorgeous, ornate casket.
Like what?
He had
He
a
got
sense
problems.
of fashion, okay.
So they like throw this coffin in the ocean, and somehow it like shoots to the surface, and that baby's still alive in there. What? Can you believe that?
Plot twist.
And then he is found by a fisherman named Spiros
Yes, I think so. I think that's
and his wife named Mamara.
right.
When he finds this baby, it's like a clear day, and this casket is just like floating around. Years later, I'll come back to the clear skies thing. Don't worry. Years later, his like family and him are watching soldiers from this city destroy this huge statue of Zeus that probably took so many years to build, and so many slaves probably died building this thing. But then all of a sudden, these like little bat-like creatures start coming out of the ocean. What? Why? That's Poseidon's territory. Excuse me. Why is it Poseidon doing anything? Then it turns out it's Hades. Hades kills Perseus' family. They drown. And Perseus is like the only survivor. So he is brought before, like, another gripe. Why are they taking him and they're putting him before this king and queen? Why? He was literally just a witness. So then, I think the king's name is Cepheus, and the queen's name is Cassiopeia. Okay? And Cassiopeia starts talking mad shit about the gods. And guess who hears? The gods.
The gods hear everything.
So Hades, Liam Neeson's knockoff cousin, he's like, I don't like you to Cassiopeia because she's talking mad shit. Obviously, you can't just say stuff, Cassiopeia. Anyway, so then he's like, he just points at her and he just like takes her youth away. Love that for her. He's like 10 days after I'm gonna release the Kraken is what he calls it, but it's pronounced Kraken.
Yeah.
To the king, he's like, unless your daughter that Cassiopeia over here was saying is prettier than any god is like sacrificed to the Kraken, everyone's gonna die. And Andromeda is her name. While Hades is making this threat, he like essentially kind of like alludes to the fact that Perseus' dad is Zeus.
Oh my
King just
God.
kind of goes up to him and is like, you can save us because that's your dad. What?
He's like, dude, I only just found out who my real dad is. What do you say?
Like, he knew he wasn't a part of, like, the family that he was in.
Yes,
because his
but
dad's
he didn't
like,
know who.
yeah, he didn't know who. So then Perseus, I don't know, like, if he's in some type of, like, holding cell or something, but he meets this girl named Io, right? And she tells him that he is indeed Zeus's baby, right? And then she's like, oh yeah, I was cursed with immortality, by the way. So then Perseus, Io, and dun 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 dun, Mads Mikkelsen, Ayo.
What's up, boy?
His name is Draco, which I thought was funny. They all go to find these witches, right? To find out how to defeat the Kraken. And, you know, just Zeus tries to give Percy a sword or something. And then all these things come and, like, try to kill them. And Daddy Draco is not having any of that. He, like, cuts off this guy's hand after this guy's trying to kill them. And then where his freaking blood's coming out of his little hand stump, these scorpions, these huge scorpions start growing and attacking them. What? Finally, they, like, get to the lair, right? And this whole time, I'm just gonna say it, Mads Mikkelsen is carrying this team with his acting here, okay? He is carrying the pack because everybody else is just kind of like a generic Walmart brand Band-Aid, and he is just those really good welly Band-Aids, okay? He is just top tier. Everybody else is low tier.
Yes. I bet
So
Mads Mikkelsen has never even stepped foot in a Walmart. That's how top tier he is.
I bet he hadn't ever even thought of it.
The thought never crossed his mind.
He is definitely a Target goer.
Oh, absolutely.
So they go to see these witches, right? And the witches tell him, like, oh, go take Medusa, cut off her head. That'll kill that Kraken. And then Medusa freaking kills everybody.
I know, even our precious Mads.
R.I.P., man. He was not even... Okay, this is... Just to touch on this. I feel like a lot of Mads Mikkelsen's, especially, like, more films that are geared towards, like, the U.S. and, like, towards Americans and everything, like, he is always, like, either a villain and he's a side character, right? Or he's just, like, this super badass dude that ends up dying in the most heroic way.
Yes, that was something that I read about him that, like, statistically,
like, I feel
that
like he's
he
kind of been,
dies
like,
in a
typecast.
Mm-hmm.
He's been, like, typecast as, like, this guy that's just, he's gonna freaking go out, and he's gonna go out strong. I just remember, I just loved him in this movie, specifically. And it might just have been because, you know, I was young, and I just was like, oh my gosh, he's amazing. But, so, Medusa killed him, and that was tragic. And, I mean, the rest of the movie just kind of works out the way you think it would. So they, like, leave, and they try to, well, it's not they, it's just Percy. Yes, because everybody else freaking died while he used his shield as a reflection mirror to chop her head off. Then he goes and he, except for that Io girl, she was, like, waiting outside. Which, why is the immortal one waiting outside while everybody else is just risking their lives? Why did Mads have to die so Io could live? Also, like, I don't understand her little immortality thing. Because then they're, like, leaving or whatever, and the guy that had the bloody arm stump that summoned the scorpions comes and he stabs her, and then she dies. But, like, how are you trying to be immortal and then you die?
She is interesting. She's got a Betty Boop look to her.
Like, that actress, I feel like, is a very, like, she has a very specific look. And she was also in, do you remember Sands of Time with Jake Gyllenhaal?
No, what is that?
Oh my gosh, she's in that movie too. It bombed
Oh,
so
you're talking
hard.
about the Prince of Persia movies?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That
well,
was
it's
bad,
called
dude.
Prince of Persia, colon the Sands of Time. But yeah,
Okay, so
Danny
technically I
loves
was
that
right.
movie.
Oh, Danny.
Yeah,
She's
well,
in that too, boy. After he stabs that the guy with the stump hand that summoned the scorpions, he stabs Io. After he does that, he like tries to fight with Perseus, and then Percy like takes his sword and kills him. Love that. Then all of a sudden, a winged horse comes and is like, "I'm gonna take you back to Argos," which is like where Andromeda is. Okay, Andromeda, as we remember, is being sacrificed to the Kraken so that nobody else dies. And then I don't know why this horse comes out of nowhere for Perseus to like ride. Like, who sent this horse? Like,
it's a surprise horse,
it's a surprise.
When a
It's
boy
the
becomes
avocado.
a certain age, he
When
gets
a
a
boy becomes a
surprise
man.
horse.
Then they release the gods release the Kraken, right? That's fine. Percy arrives, and then he like takes Medusa's head, shows it to the Kraken, and the Kraken freaking just turned into a stone and crumbled because that thing was evil. Hades was just not very happy about this Kraken falling because Hades just wanted the world in chaos, right? Because he wanted to manipulate all the gods into doing what he wanted them to do. It was a whole thing. And then everybody's like, "No, you gotta go back to the underworld, bro. That's really not cool." So then Perseus. Sorry, I keep calling him Percy because I read those Percy Jackson books
Yes.
growing up.
I know, it was
So
a
like
struggle.
in my mind, it's like so hard. Like Perseus.
Mm-hmm.
So
Especially-
he rescues Andromeda. It's great. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say they like mention. Well, I say they mention. They say that Perseus is the son of Zeus, and I remember me and Danny looking at each other and be like, I'm pretty sure he's the son of Poseidon, right? Like that's how it goes. And then we
Yep.
looked it up and we were like, nope, that's Percy from Percy Jackson. He was the
Right?
child of.
It's so confusing.
Yes.
But like he's got the same name. His name is Perseus in the books, and he just goes by Percy.
Exactly. So they like took that thing, flipped it, and reversed it. They were like, we're
I
gonna
think
do it.
technically, Percy Jackson took that thing, flipped it, reversed it.
Exactly. Yes.
So Perseus rescues Andromeda, and then she's like, "Perseus, come be my king. You saved me. I love you." He does to quote Mr. Lyons, our high school history teacher, she does the Cleopatra booty shake, but it doesn't work.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about that until now. That is hilarious.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Then he's like, "Nah." And then his dad, Zeus, comes down and is like, "Yo, thanks for helping me out, bud." And then he offers Perseus, like, he's like, "I'll make you a god if you want, because you, like, helped me out of a tight spot, bro." And Perseus is like, "I think you should just revive this Io girl that's been literally blessed with immortality and probably just wants to die at this point.
She wants to rest, but you know what? I'm gonna give
She
her a
ain't
little.
getting no rest." Anyways, then the movie ends. And so I just really feel like I chose this movie specifically because it was one of the first movies where I saw Mads Mikkelsen in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved like the character he portrayed in it. So that's why I chose this movie.
Yes.
Upon reflecting, Mads Mikkelsen does have, like some films that are like where he's the main character, but I feel like I wanted to choose something where it was like my first introduction to him,
Yes.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, when you look through it, like, oh, I'm rating this movie, so I have to like look at it more critically. It does make you look at it differently, but at the same time, it still has that like childhood, like nostalgia to it. that makes you give it a higher score probably than it deserves. You know, if you were seeing it for the first time, you would probably give it lower. But what would you give it out of 10?
I think if I were to have rated it whenever I first watched it, like, I loved this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably have given it like an 8 out of 10. But then after rewatching it, like, I see why people didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of like ruined it to rewatch it for me.
Here at the good old GMH pod, we don't necessarily always ascribe to the Rotten Tomatoes thing, you know, and actually probably more often than not, Rotten Tomatoes is pretty far off base, especially as far as the critics go. Like, you know, this podcast.
What are those critic people smoking?
I don't know.
Sometimes they rate things like so low.
I don't know about
and then
those
like
critics.
audiences rate it so high. You know what I mean? Like,
it's so different.
can we get a better look at these people and their lives and their views and stuff? Like, I just feel like I might need some information.
Exactly. You know? We are a podcast of the people, and we give it to you straight. We don't put no bullshit on it. We say this is a good nostalgic movie. And honestly, I would say, even with its flaws, like, if I were to look at it uncritically, I would probably give it 7, what did you call it? Flying horses out of 10.
I think, like, just rewatching it now, I'd probably give it, like, let's see, a 6 scorpions.
6 blood scorpions.
Yeah, 6
sprouting
blood
from the sand.
Scorpions. Like, that's what I give it.
That's a good solid rating. I agree with that. Okay, so then we have Fantastic Beast, The Secrets of Dumbledore, which came out in this year of our Lord, 2022. It received only a 46% by critics. Can you believe it? That is
yeah, because they're big old hater, man.
Usually what I've noticed is that, yeah, there's usually like a discrepancy between critics and audience, but it's not usually more than like 10-15%, you know, but this time it's a 46% by critics and an 83% by audience.
Oh, that's quite the lead there.
That's insane to me.
The people want what the people want, and
yeah.
It's Mads Mikkelsen, okay?
They're like, bro, I do not care what you say. That movie was bomb AF. Jude Law and Mads Mikkelsen are my daddies, and there's nothing you can say to change that. Okay, let's see if I can do this. I am a very strong Bloody Mary into this podcast, and we'll see if I can. Let's see if I can hold it together.
To be Sequoia right now.
I personally, like, I love Harry Potter, but I'm a huge fan of the Fantastic Beasts movie. I really, really like them, but especially this movie. So Mads Mikkelsen has only been Grindelwald in this third one, and that's because of the whole controversy that happened with Johnny Depp and stuff. Now, I know that there was that period of time where we were all in fear. It's like, ooh, like, do we really like him? Like, did he really do this? Because I remember, like, kind of like analyzing like how I felt about him as an actor and stuff like that. It's like, yes, I've really loved him as an actor, but is that really who he is as a real person? Because all of this stuff was in the air, and it was like we didn't really know for sure yet what was true. We just knew what the allegations were, and so it was like a scary time because obviously everyone used to love Johnny Depp, but during that time it was a dark time. We were not really sure what to think. But yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put it out there. I was always very suspicious of like everything that was going on. I was just like, I just don't get that vibe from.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know.
I
just never got those vibes from him. But like, I've only ever seen him in movies. Like, I don't know him personally or anything like that, obviously. But
and that's what's so hard. Like as as an audience and stuff too, we tend to think that we know that these actors and actresses because we've seen them in all these different movies, and we feel like we know them because we see their faces all the time, but we don't really know them. And so I think that's why it's so important when things like this happen, you know, like that did happen with Johnny Depp, where we don't necessarily say like, oh, he's such a good actor and I love him so much as an actor, so there's no way he could have done that. I think it's
Yeah,
important
exactly.
to still, even though we do love their acting, like to take a step back and be like, do I really think, like, you know, is there even a shred of doubt? Maybe he could have, and maybe I should give like the other party the benefit of the doubt too, and to see how this plays out. And then it became obvious to everyone as the trial played out and stuff. We were like, okay, obviously Amber Heard's got some issues going on, and
She's got a lot going on. It sounds also like, just, I was following the case not super closely, but like I had a general idea of like what was going on, what went down,
yeah,
and it sounded like it was like kind of mutually not a good relationship. Like neither side was good to the other, but it didn't sound like he was the one that was actually like physically hurting anyone.
yeah. And I think that was the fear at the beginning. It had gotten to a point where they both were saying really terrible things to each other because it was like such an unhealthy relationship. After that second movie, things came to like a heightened point with the Amber Heard and the Johnny Depp trial, and the Warner Brothers, they were like, this is like, if this ends up being true about him, it is not worth our while to keep him on. And at which point they did sub out his character to Mads Mikkelsen, which honestly, I know that that's not always a popular choice for people, like whenever there is a change in actors like that. But you know how much we love Mads Mikkelsen, and I don't think that we can really be upset about that.
Johnny's loss is Mab's gain. I'm just gonna say it.
Really, and he was so good at it, and it was like you didn't see any shadow of doubt in him as he played that character. You didn't see any hint of him being like, am I feeling this role correctly? Am I doing...
They definitely, I feel like, made a good choice.
I think he made a very seamless transition from Johnny Depp as Grindelwald into, the new Mads Mikkelsen. But yeah, so in this movie, like the name says, it is the secrets of Dumbledore, in which we find out that Dumbledore has been in love with Gellert, is his name, Gellert Grindelwald. In the very first scene of the movie, it comes to light that they had made vows to each other as young men that they were going to change the wizarding world, that they were going to, put the wizarding world on top of everything, and kind of do away with the Muggle world as far as it being in charge of everything, basically. And you see this now years later, and you see that Dumbledore is he's regretting, like he doesn't regret the love that he had for Gellert, but he is not happy about the promises that he's made and everything. And basically the movie is just about how it's kind of like this back and forth between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and about how Dumbledore is fighting for good, and he's fighting for what's right, not necessarily just about the wizarding world, but about what is just right in general. And all Grindelwald is really concerned with is just that the wizarding world gets the last say, that they get everything, really. And so it's just this fight back and forth where, of course, your main character is going to be Eddie Redmayne, who plays Newt, and he's the main character, and he's kind of like the go-between. He's making everything happen, and he makes this just wonderful story, this lighthearted story where he introduces his fun like personality in his world with his fantastic beast into everything, but he's still bringing about he's bringing about good, and I wouldn't even say justice really, but he's bringing about good and making sure that good things happen with the world. And throughout all of this, what it really ends on is that it comes to light in the world where Grindelwald, it becomes known to the world that he has he's been lying to everyone. He wants to be the one that everyone chooses and everything, but he's going about it in bad ways, and the way that they had decided who is going to be, I think what they, during the Supreme Mugwump ceremony where they decide, I guess who's going to be elected and stuff, it comes out that he had used necromancy to reanimate the dead Chillin, which is the creature that chooses who will be elected. And it's like, it's that ultimate slap in the face where everyone's like, oh crap, like he has been lying to us at every turn just to make sure that he gets what he wants. And it's at that point, that the Chillin actually, the real Chillin, the twin Chillin, bows to Dumbledore, and it shows that Dumbledore is actually the one that is worthy of the position. But of course, Dumbledore, being who he is, declines it, and he's like, no, I know that there's someone here that is better suited. And Santos is actually the one who ends up being chosen by the Chillin, and at that point, Grindelwald tries to escape, and he goes through this battle with Dumbledore, in which Dumbledore wins out because the bond, the vows that they had made to each other were broken because Grindelwald threw that first cast, of a spell, and that's what broke their vow. And so he disappears. He doesn't even die. He just disappears. And, that leaves the story open in terms of what could go on from the future. But I feel like he played such a good villain, a polarizing character, because you see who he was to Dumbledore, and you see that he must have at one point really been a good, pure person. But, as Grindelwald got older, views of the world changed him, and he became someone that Dumbledore couldn't love anymore. And Dumbledore had to stand up for good instead of continue on with, something that he knew wasn't good. And yeah, that is the movie. That is Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore.
Ugh. I love all the Harry Potter movies.
I know.
Like, that
so
entire,
good.
universe is it's just so rich.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's incredible, really. And seeing Mads Mikkelsen, introduced into that world was really awesome to see. But, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up because baby is downstairs getting restless, and he's ready for me to be back with him. So,
I get it.
Thank you for being on the podcast. It has been really fun.
Of course.
I'm glad that
Happy
you
to
could
be
be
here.
with us. Yeah. So we're going to wrap everything up and say we have a Facebook page at Good Movie Hunting or at GMH Podcast, Twitter at GMH Pod, Instagram at GMH Podcast. Our email is goodmoviehuntingpod@gmail.com. Our YouTube is Good Movie Hunting Podcast. And thank you, everyone, for your continued support. I know that this was a little, break from tradition. We were supposed to be doing Denzel Washington, but we took a little turn. But I think it was good and fun. And next week we'll be back again with our scheduled actor. So thank you, everyone, for being here with us today. Here we go. This is us signing off. Sequoia and Savannah, y'all have a wonderful evening.
Have a good night.
Pictures up, class, please.
Parker?
What's on your mind?
I've thought about this all night. Whether what I'm about to do is the right thing or not.
Let me go in and talk to him alone, Dr. Mallory.
I did so only because he was working along lines contrary to the good of mankind.
Well, Rangers, looks as though Agents Mackenzie and Hopkins are going to have to get to that hacienda and get there mighty fast.
To crush all opposition, make the most